Under an order issued this week by Governor Charlie Baker, anyone going out in public in the Baystate will be expected to wear a mask. We'll tell you what that means for you. Arlington gets creative as its town leaders try keeping commerce afloat during this pandemic. One way is to play a nearly 500-year-old game, but it could very well have 21st century solutions. One ACMi News correspondent tells a story that we can all relate to, cooped up and coping with the coronavirus while hoping to see light at the end of the tunnel. And an unprecedented show of appreciation for Arlington High's class of 2020. No caps and gowns, at least for now, but a heartfelt visual send-off just the same. There are more than 250 positive cases of COVID-19 in Arlington, nearly 30 deaths. This newscast was edited on May the 8th as Arlington stays together, apart.
From McLennan Park to Spy Pond, from Poets Corner to the Mystic River, we have Arlington covered. We're your neighbors, a friend you can turn to. This is ACMi News.
Good evening, and welcome to this week's edition of ACMi News. I'm Jeff Barnes. We'll get to our coronavirus coverage in just a minute, but first, a tragedy to report along Mass Ave. Police say a 27-year-old Somerville man riding a bicycle was killed after being struck by a motorist at the intersection of Appleton Street and Mass Avenue Tuesday evening. Police say he was one of two bicyclists struck by this motorist on Tuesday evening, May the 5th. Police say Charles Proctor of Somerville was rushed to the hospital, where he died from his injuries suffered at this intersection. The other cyclist, a 32-year-old woman, was hospitalized with non-life-threatening injuries. Police say the 20-year-old motorist driving a Hyundai Sonata remained at the scene after the accident. Police say there was a loaded shotgun found in the car, and even though the district attorney says the driver, a 20-year-old Cambridge man, is licensed to own a gun, the driver faces a charge of possession of a loaded shotgun in the car. The investigation into this accident is still pending. Police say that loaded shotgun was found in the trunk of the vehicle. Okay, on to other news of the day now. As Arlington endures the continuing fears and frustrations over this COVID-19 pandemic, many questions are being raised. When can we get back together again? When can we go back to our jobs again? When do we get our lives back? Just some of the questions that were raised at a virtual town forum that was held late last week and produced by ACMi. One poignant issue that was constantly brought up was the issue of face masks or facial coverings. This, of course, comes after the governor's order this week requiring face masks or facial coverings in public places where social distancing is not possible. Now, on a town-wide scale, where does the Board of Health have the authority to institute such a regulation? Then there's concern about wearing a face mask or facial covering while driving a car.
Local boards of health are given the authority under Mass General Laws, actually Chapter 111, to enact regulations that would protect the health of the community. So it is under that statute that that the Board of Health is actually allowed to enact a regulation requiring masks. And you will see this happening in other communities across the state. So there have been a number of boards of health that have enacted emergency orders exactly the way that our local Board of Health will be moving forward. And then as far as masks in cars, I'm going to let Julie respond to that, but I do want to say that I think it's not something that we're necessarily recommending unless there are workers that are engaged in delivery, or if there are two or more people in a vehicle that are non-related. So if it's a parent driving with the child, I don't think it's necessary personally to include that. So that will be something, maybe that's part of what the board looks at as an exception. Julie, do you want to speak further to the masks in vehicles?
Right, Christine, I'd second that if you were alone in your vehicle with a passenger or a child, obviously the safety of everybody in your vehicle is most important. And if you're not able to safely operate with a mask on, then we ask that you wouldn't do that.
Great, thank you. So this same resident had a follow-up question that I will skip to because I think while we're on the topic, it's appropriate. How do we feel about, as travelers enter Arlington, how we make them aware about the requirements of such an order? And I'll take the first crack at that, and then perhaps, Julie, you can follow up. But I think our primary means of doing that would be putting what we call the variable message boards, those large electronic signboards, at our border of Cambridge and Lexington line. And then we could talk about what the appropriate way at our Medford and Belmont and Winchester borders would be. But I think we would try to dispatch those those signs as effectively as possible to get the message out. Not that everybody who crosses our borders lives in a bordering community, but we will be benefited by the fact that Cambridge and Somerville already have similar orders in place. Medford has a similar order, as does Belmont. I'm not sure where Lexington and Winchester stand on the matter right now, but we are sort of living in a pocket where most of our surrounding communities have a similar order in place, which would ease adoption, in my opinion. Juliana, any further response to that?
Nope, I agree. We'll be using our signboards. We'll do the best we can to get our message out, and we'll obviously be educating people who come into town who have any question.
Ever since our lives were turned upside down by this COVID-19 pandemic, ACMi News has been in weekly contact with the town manager of Arlington. And this week, town manager Adam Chaplain gives us an update on what he's been hearing from health officials on the town level and also on the state level. Adam, thanks so much for joining us. Always appreciate your time.
Of course.
Right now in Arlington, we have 240 positive cases at least, 25 deaths. You're on the phone every day with state and local health officials. What are they telling you this week?
So, yeah, I actually just got off a call with a group of other local officials, and there's a lot happening, but I think the good news is that the rate of infection of those tested statewide seems to be going down. So that seems to be the positive news. Hospitalizations have at the very least plateaued and are slowly declining, though they're not declining at the same rate that they were increasing. Though on the other side of the coin, we're still struggling to test as many people as experts suggest we should be testing. And the rates of those being hospitalized as well as the rates of infection are still not going down fast enough for anybody to feel comfortable reopening. So I think Governor Baker said yesterday, he used the term, people should expect a halting reopening process. And that's consistent with what I'm hearing from state and other local leaders, that we're going to have to be very careful. We're going to have to be phased, and we're going to have to continue to watch the numbers to make sure that any decisions we make to begin reopening over the course of the next several months is done so as safely as possible.
And really the graph, when you have the COVID-19 crisis, we were spiking high about a month and a half ago, but the recovery is going to be awfully slow. And I think, especially with the weather changing, that's tough for people to accept.
Yeah, I know. Internally, we've been fearful of warmer weather. I think personally, all hoping for warmer weather, but from a professional point of view, troubled by warmer weather because people will want to get outside. That said, it does seem like people are continuing to take this seriously. When you're in and around town, you don't see a lot of activity. There's people out walking and exercising, but it does seem as though people are continuing to take this seriously and understand there's a little more to go before we can come out of this.
You've been in crisis management for like the last 6, maybe 7 weeks, maybe even longer. It's tough enough just doing town business from your position. How have you been holding up, and what do you say to Arlingtonians now that the weather is changing and cabin fever and people want to get out and people just want to do things?
I would say, yeah, you know what? We're all human. I'm human. And, over the past week, I'll say myself, I've started to feel it, feel the isolation, feel, that desire to get out there and interact and become part of society. For maybe 4 or 5 weeks, I was thinking like, okay, we can do this, but I'll admit that just like anybody else, I miss my friends. I miss my family. And I'm sure a lot of people are feeling that. But we got to stick with it. The risk of somebody who has an underlying condition or who might be vulnerable to this virus contracting it, if we don't stick with it, is still pretty high. We need to get a better testing regime in place. We need to get better tracing in place across the state. And until we do those things, it's going to be hard to do this without risking the health of others. So I think we should acknowledge that we're human and that we have these feelings, but also acknowledge that, we keep saying this, our civic duty and it's patriotic to do this, to protect others for the good of the all. So that's, I guess that would be my message for Arlington residents.
And if it's not done right, we're back to square one. We do it all over again, and possibly it could be worse. So let's just suck it up now and get it over with. Let's go out and live our lives again. Adam, always good to see you, and just be safe and have a good week, and we'll be in touch.
You too. Thank you, Jeff.
All right. Thank you, sir. And you can see my entire interview with the town manager on the ACMi News Facebook page. This COVID-19 pandemic has been causing havoc when it comes to this year's town election, which is tentatively scheduled now for June the 6th. But ACMi has published links to interviews with most of the candidates in races like the Select Board, Board of Assessors, School Committee, Housing Authority, and Town Clerk. If you want to get caught up and up to date with the candidates running in this year's town election, all you have to do is go to our webpage, acmi.tv. Okay, ACMi's news anchor James Millan had a chance to chat with Representative Sean Garbely earlier this week. Representative Garbely has been acting like a liaison during this COVID-19 pandemic. He's trying to steer the people he represents to the proper levels of government that can help those people who need it now more than ever. Now, the Zoom camera on the representative's laptop was not working. However, during these times, it's all about the content.
And I can tell you that my phone has been ringing off the hook for the past couple of months, and it has not stopped. And I can tell you that I am getting anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 calls and emails during 1 week. And as you can imagine, the vast majority of those calls and emails are from people who just lost their job. And they are worried about how to put food on their family's table, how to pay bills, how to pay their child's tuition and fees for college. And so I've been helping them, along with the other members of the delegation, get through to unemployment and figure out, the Massachusetts laws as well as the laws of unusual unemployment. Those who are gig workers, those who are self-employed, those who usually do not qualify for regular unemployment do now based on the federal CARES Act. And so trying to help them navigate the law and be able to collect the important revenue from that law so that they can take care of their families and keep safe.
I know that the kinds of direct constituent services that you were just referencing are something that is part of your job at all times. But of course, at this time, it sounds like it has become the overwhelmingly large proportion of what it is that you're doing. Is that an accurate impression?
It is. Certainly I'm working on important legislation and trying to get past priorities passed. But when you have 10 people calling you in a span of 1 hour, letting me know that, they haven't heard from unemployment, they applied, and they are 5 days without any type of resources coming back from the state, that is a cause of concern and worry. And I do try to drop everything to try to help that individual access the benefits that he or she is qualified to receive. And so I think it's incumbent upon all legislators, all elected officials, to really help our constituents navigate this pandemic together.
And you can see James Millan's entire interview with Representative Garbely on our website. All you have to do is go to acmi.tv and click on Talk of the Town. The town of Arlington is now teaming up with its Chamber of Commerce so that Arlingtonians can have fun for a serious cause. You can play bingo and also help out nearly 100 local businesses at the same time. You don't have to worry about winning diagonally, vertically, or horizontally, and you can also win a pretty hefty prize yourself. You interested? Take a look.
We wanted to find a way to encourage people to still shop locally safely during this pandemic and support our local businesses as much as we can. So we decided to make a game out of it. And we made 3 bingo cards with all different Arlington businesses on them. And so that way it's sort of for folks who still have, some disposable income and can get takeout or buy gift certificates for their future haircuts or what have you. You can play the game, and the Chamber of Commerce sweetened the pot by throwing in a prize for $100 Shop Arlington First gift certificate for 3 winners, 1 for each card.
So you have businesses on the card when you buy, like, let's say, takeout at a local restaurant, you can cross that off. Mm-hmm. Unlike bingo, though, you don't have to worry about horizontal, diagonal, vertical, any of that stuff, correct?
we're being pretty liberal about it. I mean, we're not asking people to fill up the whole card. That's a tall order. But yeah, just, 5 across, however you can do it. Mm-hmm. Or even, if it just encourages people to do it a few times, it's fine if you don't want to really play the game. But pretty much anything that motivates people to shop now is great, because when you play, the businesses win. And that's what we want to do, is help them, support them through this really difficult time for them and help them succeed, so they can recover on the other side of this and keep going.
I see. And let's say a business shuts down in the middle of the game temporarily. Does that space just count for that business, or do you get a free space like bingo every now and then?
Yep, free space, exactly.
Good.
Yeah, some people have been, temporarily closing for a little bit so they can regroup and get their operations back together, and then reopening or changing their hours. So yeah, we're trying to build in that flexibility.
That's good. And if let's say you have enough businesses on your card, how do people then try to cash in on the possibility for the prize? Do they go to the town website and they keep receipts? How does that work?
So you download the card on the town's website, but then to redeem your prize, or to be entered to win your prize, depending on how many people participate, we have until May 31st, and you can email your completed card to info@rlcc.org to the Arlington Chamber of Commerce, because they'll be giving out the prize. You have to put bingo in the subject line, and just some sort of proof of purchase, just so we know that, a transaction actually took place. So it doesn't necessarily have to be scans, but maybe screenshots of your receipt or something like that would be helpful.
I see. Your job includes so many facets, but I understand you came up with the idea of the designing of the card and how it's laid out and everything else. I mean, you're pretty creative here. Everybody's getting creative during these times.
We all have to, but I have to actually give a footnote to my colleague, Kelly Linema. She's the senior planner in the Department of Planning and Community Development. She actually forwarded, I've played games like this before in other jobs, but she brought the idea up again, and she actually did the design. She has tremendous design skills. So props to Kelly for making these pretty bingo cards for everyone to play on.
Yeah, they look great. Are you getting a response from people, Arlington residents, as far as taking part in something like this? What are you hearing back as far as residents are concerned in their feedback?
Yeah, it's been very well received, and I've seen lots of shares on Facebook from the social media posts from the town, like 9 shares right away. So it's been a great response. And the business owners actually, some of them were like, oh, I didn't hear about this. I want to get in now. So we may actually make a 4th card if we get more businesses on board. So hopefully.
And you can see my interview with Allie Carter in its entirety on the ACMi News Facebook page. Absolutely no one has been untouched by what has happened in the last month or two. And that includes us. ACMi has had to close its doors until this virus passes. Still, one of our ACMi News interns, Victoria Gonzalez from Emerson College, was able to file this report on how she is weathering this storm with her loved ones.
Miedo. Miedo de que me levanto, miedo de que me acuesto.
Trips outside the house have become too risky for my Aunt Maria Ramirez, who has heart issues, but her fears extend past herself.
Y también siento miedo por mi familia, porque si yo me infecto, en esta casa es una casa que vivimos 2 familias. Entonces, si nos infectamos nosotros, se van a infectar mis familiares. Y va a ser una cadena. Y no, eso no lo vamos a permitir.
She's referring to my parents, my brother, and myself, who live downstairs from her and have also been impacted by being quarantined.
We're lucky to spend time together, but it's been tough financially. And as a recent college grad, it's harder to find a job during this pandemic than it already was.
On top of that, my mom spends time working on her art, but continuing to sell it has not been easy. My aunt also cannot go to her job as a daycare supervisor, but she can luckily continue to work from home.
Yo lo que hago es supervisarlas y mirar qué les enseñan a los niños, cómo los alimentan, cómo juegan con ellos. Eso es lo que yo más extraño, que no puedo estar yendo a las casas de ellas para ayudarlas.
My cousin Anna Maria is a dental assistant. Her office is closed, so she stays home to care for her mother and diabetic father.
It's just worrying, because you have to be proactive and take that extra step and not go out and do it for the people who are at higher risk.
Anna Maria has had to adjust to online classes after being used to studying in science labs.
I take a physics lab that it needs to be hands-on, and the fact that I cannot be hands-on anymore and I have to interpret data is very difficult, and it's challenging because you kind of have to pretend that you are doing this experiment at home with no equipment.
But despite these challenges, everyone in this 2-apartment house is focusing on the simple things in our lives.
Tener esperanzas, de poder volver a hacer la vida no igual como antes, pero tal vez mejor, porque he aprendido a valorar mis cosas, mi familia.
I've definitely learned that I can be happy with a lot less. I'm happy with my family, with my significant other, with the security that I have at home, with food in my fridge, and with just having the technology to interact with the people that I love.
I'm trying to stay as optimistic as possible that I'll be able to find a job soon and go visit my loved ones abroad.
And I'm thankful to be safe at home as I help my family adapt to these unexpected changes. Reporting in Boston, I'm Victoria Gonzalez.
Victoria, thanks so much for filing that report, and please stay safe with you and your family. Okay, let's turn things over to the people formerly from Studio B, but who are now hunkering down in their living rooms during these very unusual, crazy times. Our youth coordinator from ACMi, Kevin Wetmore, put together a fantastic send-off to the Arlington High School class of 2020. You have to see this. It's part of this week's Ponderscope.
Welcome to the Ponderscope, your Arlington High School news, updates, and more. On the Daily Post, students can find a frequently asked questions document covering questions on the audit system for Term 4. The document contains a link to ask new questions that don't already appear in the document, so if anything still remains unanswered, make sure to ask. To all AHS students, school nurse Michelle O'Toole is holding virtual health office visits Monday to Friday from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Individual and confidential visits will happen on a first-come, first-served basis. To request a visit, email motoole@arlington.k12.ma.us. We here at ACMi would like to thank Ms. O'Toole and all of the other healthcare professionals who are going above and beyond to meet the challenges of our time. Similarly, the library will be holding online office hours for all students and staff from 11 a.m. to noon on Mondays and Wednesdays, beginning immediately. Some things you can ask about include recommendations for good books to read for school or just to pass the time, finding high-quality information sources for your assignments or enrichment activities, and how to access digital books, magazines, newspapers, videos, and more while the libraries are closed. The link is posted on the Daily Post, and we hope to see you online. And now, to close this week's Ponderscope, here's a portion of a video dedicated to the class of 2020 from teachers, administration, and staff. To watch it in its entirety, visit acmi.tv/ponder-remote. I'm Chandler Betts, and this has been the Ponderscope. Stay safe.
Some nights I stay up, cashing in my bad luck. Some nights I call it a draw. Some nights I wish that my lips could build a castle. Some nights I wish they just fall off. But I still wake up, I still see your ghost. Oh Lord, I'm still not sure what I stand for. Oh, what do I stand for? Oh, what do I stand for? Most nights I don't know anymore.
Good morning, class of 2020. We miss you. Be resilient. We will get through this together. I wish you the best of luck in finding your own path.
What are we waiting for? Why don't we break the rules already? I was never one to believe the hype. Save that for the black and white. Try twice as hard, I'm half as light, but here they come again to jack my style.
Hello, class of 2020. This is Mr. McKay. Over the last 4 years, I've taught so many of you and got to know you personally. I wanted to say how much I enjoyed working with you and how hard you've worked. You've always put forth a good effort, and I really wanted to thank everyone for all they've done. And you've also helped improve the Arlington High School community as well. You've done so much, and thank you for all your efforts. Goodbye and good luck.
Hey, class of 2020. Stay positive, keep strong, and we'll see you all soon.
Hi, from the Rousing Thomas family.
I miss seeing you in the halls, guys. Sorry that your senior year is coming to a close like this. Stay healthy, and I hope to see everyone soon.
Most nights, I don't know.
So this is it. I sold my soul for this. Washed my hands of that for this. Missed my mom and dad for this.
Hey Ponder seniors, I can't wait to find a way to celebrate graduation with all of you. We miss you and we care about you.
Hi seniors, it's Ms. Bissett. I miss you. I'm so impressed with everything you've done over your years in high school, and I'm so excited to see what you do next.
For the best you didn't listen. It's for the best we get our distance.
Seniors, it's hard to know what to say in this situation. But we miss you. We love you. We're sorry to see you go. We're sorry things were ending up this way. But we know you're going to be okay, and we're going to be here for you, and we'll find a way to celebrate together. Have a great senior year to the closure class of 2020. Go Ponders.
And congratulations to Arlington High's class of 2020 from all of us at ACMi. Great job, Kevin, putting that together. I'm sure a lot of you people know Kevin Wetmore. If you don't, take my word for it, you really should. He does a good job. Great guy. All right, that'll do it for us this week. If you want to know anything that's happening in town that we're reporting on, all you have to do is go to our webpage, acmi.tv. There you'll find the reports that we're doing on the pandemic and other stories of the day as well. If you want to see what we're doing on a daily basis, all you have to do is go to our Facebook page, ACMi News Facebook page. We're constantly updating that on a daily basis. And we want to thank everybody who's in touch with us so that we can convey that important information out to you. That means a lot to us, and we appreciate it. That does it for this week's edition of ACMi News. I'm Jeff Barn. Thanks so much for joining us this week. Please stay safe, and if you can, help out others. Oh, wash the hands, of course. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next week.
You can always check out our latest segments and newscasts on the web at acmi.tv/news. And don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ACMi News. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. You'll find us at youtube.com/ACMi News. If you have any news tips for us or wish to become a citizen journalist, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at news@acmi.tv or stop by ACMI Studio A at 85 Park Avenue.